Hello, everybody. Have you heard this notion that you will become your own teacher or your own master, whatever word you want to use? I want to talk about that today because this is absolutely relevant to what I call the end of seeking. So, I want to explain a little bit about my path, how this happened, and why I realized this after a while, because it's not something that you understand in the beginning, but something that after some period of time you look back and you say, oh, that's what they meant with becoming your own teacher. So why is it related to the end of seeking? Because you self-impose onto yourself the label of a seeker. And I've heard this so many times, and I actually try to modify my language sometimes to not call myself a seeker, because that's not genuine. I don't seek anything anymore. I used to be a seeker, yes, and I understand the seeking process, but I'm no longer a seeker. I called the end of my seeking about 2 years ago when I directed all my attention into the investigation of that which is always suggested by all the masters: yourself, your nature. And so when you do this, you realize that that's precisely what you were looking for. It's not as a conceptual answer that you'll find, but just as an experience. You see? So everybody that calls themselves a seeker, they're either using it to approach different experiences and activities and states of mind, or flows of energy and so on. But these are not really the spiritual seeking. Spiritual seeking is about finding yourself. And finding yourself has absolutely nothing to do with all these activities, all these entertainments, which are great. I've done so many in my life, and I continue to do. They're fantastic. All these different breathing techniques and meditations, or whatever it may be. Those are great. But what you seek is yourself. So once you direct yourself, your attention, your energy, your focus into that, you will find what you're looking for. Now you see, when a mind is confused, what it'll do is to say, okay, I found myself, now what? You see, the mind will continue to ask questions and say, what's the next step? No step. When you find yourself, you realize that the mind is completely shut. There is nothing that the mind does. It's like waking up and saying, the mind asking, where is that deep sleep that I was in? You weren't. You were simply absent in deep sleep. In the same way, the mind is absent. So all we need to do is to train the mind to return all the time back and back and back. So this is your default state, let's call it, more and more. Now, why is this becoming your own teacher or master? Because when you do this, doubts, they cease. You no longer have doubts. You have questions, of course. You have curiosities. You still learn a lot, because that is the nature of ourselves. The nature of ourselves is to know ourselves. And so we know ourselves through different experiences. But what ceases is the constant questioning, and where is my happiness? Where is my peace? When will I find all of this joy and bliss? You're never going to find it in phenomenal experience. You can only find it within yourself. That's what seeks. And so no more questions, no more doubts. There is not the slightest question or confusion. Now, I'm going to talk about the possible spiritual, what do they call it? Bypass, right? That sometimes people talk about. Spiritual bypass. Oh, that's become the spiritual bypass. Well, how would you know unless you experience it, right? It is true that if the mind captures what I'm saying, it'll become a spiritual bypass, because it's going to repeat it as a mantra or as a sort of label and say, well, I know myself, I am my own teacher, and so on. That's fine. You can let the mind do that. If that's what's happening, let it do that. Just don't identify with it. It's simple. You see? But the twist that I want to give to this understanding is that you won't incur in spiritual bypass first if you learn to not listen to your mind to tell you what reality and you are. The mind will never know that. Let it play its game. And two, because you acknowledge that your imperfection is actually the state of manifestation. Let me repeat that. Your individual self, right? Your distorted self, your imperfection, because the only thing perfect is infinity, but your imperfected self is the means by which you experience reality. That means that you will always be learning ways to manifest more and more who you truly are. And who you truly are is infinite love, infinite awareness. And as you expose yourself to reality, as you engage with other people, as you engage with situations and so on, you're being presented with new, novel stimulus for you to channel, if you will, this infinite love that you are. So when we talk about healing, this is a very important point, because healing is supposed to be, all my distortions and all my negativity and all that. Initially, it looks like that because you have such a self-judgment character within you that everything that you see about yourself, you're judging. So it looks like healing because that's such a contracted state. But what is it that you do for healing? Love. Love yourself. The moment you start loving yourself more, you're able to now radiate that love outward. You see, why am I saying this? It's important because your life will become this. Let me give you an example. When you begin to be more this loving being, right, with yourself, then every single situation that you find now, it's not that you're going to be contracted, but you're always going to reflect back, meditate within the experience and say, I did it this way today. I talked to my neighbor or my wife or my children or my parents or whoever it may be, coworker, and I think I could have been a little bit more compassionate. That's the learning process, you see? That's the healing process. You're doing the same thing, but now you're not doing it only with yourself, but with others. So you're always finding, and trust me, there is not one being that has existed on the planet which we can say, oh, that person achieved the highest level of love. That doesn't exist because the highest level of love is infinity. That's why you return back to yourself all the time. And it's almost like you're recharging your batteries as a manifested being to be in meditation within yourself. And then what comes out, of course, is that which you have been bathing yourself in, which is love, love of self. And so everything that you do now, it's always a question of, wow, this is how I did it, right? My conditioned self did it this way. How can I add a little bit more love and compassion to this? How can I add a little bit more of harmony and peace to the other and myself? It's a symbiosis that's happening here, you see? So this is why you become your own teacher, and lo and behold, that is teaching to others too. You see what's happening? That which you learn about yourself, you start teaching to others, which is love. It's just simple and mundane, beautiful interaction with other beings with a smile and with a nice word and, just moving their words a little bit so they don't sound too harsh and telling them, have you seen life from this perspective and so on. It's just natural that you become this person, you see. But you have to end the seeking. Seeking is simply promoting more confusion, and it's not allowing you to channel this energy which is abundant in you. It's not abundant, it's infinite. That's why I say your life will become an eternal healing process, which I would change the word healing at this point of the video to simply radiation of what you are. And like I said at the beginning, you're so judgmental about yourself that I guess it's okay to call it healing, but eventually it's just radiation. Because when you start the healing process, you start to radiate that which you are within yourself to yourself, and then it comes out. It's normal. So that's all I wanted to share. Again, I try to make my videos a practical way in which you can understand certain concepts that are out there and how they tie in with this absolute truth of the self as infinite worth being and loving, compassionate self that we all are. And that is what I wanted to share to you. We have spiritual seekers. That seeking can go into different activities and states of mind and higher degrees of consciousness and whatever we play with our minds. That's all mind activity. Eventually, seeking, with all the frustrations that come with that seeking, must be brought to an end. At the end of seeking, you find this natural, inherent peace and love within yourself. You begin the forgiving process, forgiving of self, healing, and so on. And then that forgiveness and healing becomes the radiation of that which you found in yourself to others. And that's how you become not only your own teacher and master, because you know where to find peace, love, happiness, harmony, and so on, but you also radiate it to others. It's a beautiful process. Everybody should take it, especially if you're in the spiritual path. So that's all I wanted to share today. I hope you're having a great day. We're raining here in the PA forest, welcoming fall. This is probably my second favorite season after winter. I love the winter. So hope you have a great winter, fall, or whenever you're listening to this video, whatever season you are. You're much appreciated. Have a great day or great night. See you in the next video.